All right, everybody, welcome back to the next edition of the Mark You Down for a Cup of Joe podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Joe.
And Joseph, it's that time of the week again where we make our NFL weekly predictions, pick'ems, selections, winners, losers, whatever you want to call it. Should be a very saucy and or spicy episode. Look at me using all these synonyms today. Um, Joseph, a little
Someone
bit of
opened their dictionary today.
You know what? You could say I've never looked at a dictionary. Save it be the
Ooh.
fourth grade for a few things, but bringing out some seventh grade words. Yep. So anyway, um, a little bit of housekeeping before we get into this. Joseph, suffice it to say that last week we absolutely killed it with our pick'ems.
Yeah, but Mark, I'm gonna put this out there right now. There's a team that's a little bit on my compass right now.
Okay, give me that
The
compass team.
Philadelphia Eagles, my good sir. Ruined. Ruined, I say. My perfect week of NFL pick'ems. That was my only loss on the week, my good sir. So, me and the Eagles have a little bit of beef right now.
You know, along those same lines, I did pick the Eagles, but I also picked the Giants. So you could say that the entire NFC East is on my compass right now.
Oh, so I think I know what you're saying, Mark. I think you're saying we should just pick entirely against the NFC East right now. Just spite them entirely.
Well, before we get into that, we will let you Rangers fans know, but at least here's a little tease. We're definitely picking the Redskins, so you got that out of the way. Housekeeping again. My record, I went 12-2 last week, which puts my overall record to 67-30 on the year. 13-1. Congratulations.
Yep.
To the both of your record at 61 and what was it? 42? Does that sound right?
I
60.
believe it was 43. 43, my good sir.
There it is. 61 and 43.
43.
That makes perfect. So still tightly contested. And that one game that you picked Detroit really helped you. So
You know what,
um,
Mark? Like I said, just 1 week at a time. I'm going to get you one game at a time. I mean, come week 17, you're going to be shocked when I'm up 12 games.
oh wow, that's a hot take right there. Ability to
Left you
football
speechless there,
games.
my good
I
sir.
don't think you'll. What was that?
Oh, nothing, Mark. Nothing, Mark. You know what, Mark? Maybe if I'm making such a bold prediction as being up 12 games by the end of the season, maybe we should just dive right in and just see where we differ this week.
All right, well, let us do that. Our first game is going to be Thursday, the spooky day, Halloween, a night game as well. So you could say it's Halloween night, 8:20 p.m. in the desert heat of Glendale, Arizona, where the San Francisco 49ers visit those holy men Cardinals. Joseph, who do you
Ooh.
have in this one?
Well, Mark, before I make my pick, I just got to throw this in there. It being Halloween, Sam Darnold's lucky he's not playing out there tonight. I mean, well, actually, this could actually be another bad day for Sam Darnold. He could see more of those ghosts that were out getting their pre-Halloween scares on him. Anyways, my good sir.
Broadcast. He's watching the broadcast and he sees just ghosts on the field and freaks out in his living room.
As he's watching the Thursday night game, the ghosts just pop out of the TV screen. Ha! He thought we wouldn't remember you, Sam.
Or better yet, he'll probably be sitting there. He'll hear a knock on the door, and Charlie Brown standing there with a brown paper bag, saying "trick or treat." And as everyone knows, Charlie Brown did dress up as a ghost. So Sam Darnold will meet Charlie Brown this Thursday. You heard it here first on the Mark You Down for a Cup of Joe podcast. But anyways, enough playing.
Enough with the ghost. We'll save that for the ghost catching podcast, Mark.
All right, perfect.
This week though, my good sir, I think we're both going to be on the same page on this pick. I think this one's a fairly easy one. I have the San Francisco 49ers. I've just really liked the way they've been playing lately. Nick Bosa is, I think, easily going to win the rookie defensive player of the year, and I think he could even play himself into defensive player of the year. 3 sacks last week with an interception, and that whole defensive line is playing really, really well. Tevin Coleman's back. He's running the ball hard. They did lose Matt Breida. I know he went down with an injury. I'm not sure what his status is, but I still think they'll be fine without that. And just overall, they're just I think they're going to give Arizona fits this week. I don't think Arizona's going to be able to run the ball very effectively. They did just get Kenyon Drake, but he's not going to have time to familiarize himself with the offense. And I don't think Kyler Murray will be able to pass his way into a victory. So give me the Niners in this one.
Yeah, this week on Halloween Day, it's so fitting that a team like the Niners are going to be playing because it's going to be Nick Bosa and the Monsters coming after Kyler Murray on this night. And I do have the San Francisco 49ers winning as well for a lot of the reasons, as you said. I like this game a lot. I think this has potential to be a sneaky good matchup just because Kyler Murray is an elite athlete at the quarterback position. So we can maybe see what he can do against that San Francisco secondary, or maybe have some nice big runs. But overall, Niners are a better team, even on the road in Arizona. So I'm taking them as well.
All right, so we're on the same page there, Mark. Let's move on to Sunday's set of games, and Mark, we're going to be going to London again. We got the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars going down to London to square off in a division battle. So, Mark, who do you have in this game? I'll let you start us off.
On a side note, you know how they like to send the Jacksonville Jaguars to London every year? I mean, if you were a London fan or just the person who lived in England and you went to one game everywhere year that was a Jacksonville game, and you didn't really pay attention to the NFL, I think you'd be shocked to find out that Blake Bortles isn't the starting quarterback because he's always played really well in London. Can you imagine a guy with a Bortles jersey? Hey, what happened to number 5? Like, he's a good quarterback. But with all that being said, Minshew Mania, that team, I'm going with the Houston Texans. Sucks because what they did to my Raiders, but Deshaun Watson is on another level, and Deshaun Watson, him and himself, is just going to win this game against a division rival. He's that kind of player. So give me the Houston Texans.
Yeah, and me and you are on the same page, Mark. I think defensively, both of these teams are pretty even. Really, I think it just comes down to quarterback play and who's going to be able to put more points on the board. I think Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins and just that Texans offense are going to be able to do it. So, give me the Texans.
Yeah, I guess we both agree there. Let's move on to our next matchup.
The one you spoiled earlier, my good sir.
The one I spoiled earlier, a beatdown of epic proportions. The Washington Redskins going to that windy city of Buffalo, where it's going to be cold and it's going to be gritty. Joseph, who do you have in this one?
Mark, I think this one's a no-brainer. It's going to be the Buffalo Bills. They just have too good of a defense, and Washington just has too bad of an offense. I mean, you don't even have Case Keenum going out as your starting quarterback right now. I don't even know who they're gonna roll out this week at starting quarterback for the Redskins, whether it be Dwayne Haskins or Colt McCoy. Either one of those guys, I think, is just going to be feasted upon by that Buffalo defense. I don't think Buffalo is really going to have to move the ball that much. I think they could win with maybe like 14 or 17 points. I think they're just going to hold Washington to just absolutely nothing on offense. So give me them Bills.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And this kind of goes in with, well, they're at home, they're a better team. And you know what? I wouldn't bet against a good team getting embarrassed, coming off of an embarrassing loss. And one of those games where the Bills came off an embarrassing loss to the Philadelphia Eagles last week. I think they're just kind of going to have their mindset right, and they're really going to stomp down on this Washington team. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple defensive touchdowns. So, anyways, give me the Bills at home.
All right, that wasn't too complicated. I think that game's pretty straightforward. But this next game, Mark, this is going to be really saucy, I think. We got the Minnesota Vikings going down to play the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. And, Mark, I think potentially this could be the best matchup of the week, if I may be so bold. But I'm going to be taking the Minnesota Vikings in this one. Kirk Cousins lately has been absolutely on fire. After he kind of got called out, they went and changed up their offense a little bit, and he's throwing the ball down the field more. And he's putting up those stats that we expect Kirk Cousins to put up. And they still have a man named Dalvin Cook running the football, and he has been, I would say arguably the best running back in the NFL right now, but I think Christian McCaffrey is hands down the best. But anyways, that's a topic for a running back podcast. Dalvin Cook is still playing at a top level in the NFL. Kansas City, I think they're going to be able to put up points. They show that they can do that with Matt Moore, but I just don't think that defense is going to be able to stop a run game like Minnesota, accompanied with that play action passing that they do. So give me the Vikings.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But I think this might be a little bit of a romping on the behalf of Minnesota Vikings. Going into Kansas City, I know Arrowhead isn't the easiest place to play. Without Mahomes, I know they have weapons, but I like that Minnesota defense still. They still have a lot of players. I think that defense overall might be better than Green Bay's. So I think they're going to be able to put the clamps down on Matt Moore a little bit more, pun intended, I guess. And who on this Kansas City defense is going to stop this running game from Minnesota? Nobody. And Kirk Cousins has probably been the hottest quarterback over the past 3-4 weeks. In the NFL, save Aaron Rodgers, maybe. I mean, it's debatable at this point with the way he's been playing. So I think this has potential to be a blowout in Kansas City. Nonetheless, give me those Minnesota Vikings.
All right, so we are on the same page there. And Mark, this next one. Oh my goodness, Mark! I don't know how to describe this one. I mean, we got the Panzer tanks that are going to be trying to shoot down some kamikaze bombers right now. I mean, that's the best way I can think of this game. These two teams are both looking like they're tanking real hard.
The Jets turned into the tanks.
Yeah. I think we can call them suicide bombers, Mark, going for these Panzer tanks, trying to tank them out, trying to take out the threat. But, Mark, in this not-so-great matchup, I'm going to take the New York Jets. Frankly, just because I don't trust Fitzmagic that much, I think we're going to see a little bit what we saw in the Pittsburgh game where we may have a couple of good quarters out of him. He's going to make a couple of nice throws, but ultimately he's going to make a couple of typical Ryan Fitzpatrick type of interceptions where he throws it into double, triple coverage. And I think the Dolphins are really going to struggle to move the ball, especially since they just traded away Kenyon Drake, I think probably their best offensive player. So I'm taking the Jets mainly just because I don't trust the Dolphins enough to win this. So give me them Jets.
Yeah, this is one of those games. It's funny that you mentioned the suicide bombers because, if the Jets just stay high enough off the ground and just play their game, they can avoid the tanks completely. Really, just run the ball and then play action. If they do that, they're going to be just fine. And this is the Adam Gase revenge game. Don't forget about that. So, by virtue of that, give me the New York Jets. I mean, Miami, I don't trust. They're the Panthers. Also, here's a side note. Ryan Fitzpatrick could probably be the GOAT in an alternate universe if he had some, elite arm strength. Because the way that guy throws the football, he's like, he probably should be a West Coast quarterback, but he's thinking he's Brett Favre out there throwing the ball down the field. And that's inevitably going to lead to some turnovers. But either way, give me the New York Jets. But Joseph, let's move on to our next matchup. We've got those Chicago Bears going to Philadelphia to take on those Eagles who are flying high right now after that win last week. Joseph, who do you have?
You know what, Mark? The team from the city of brotherly love ain't going to be acting so brotherly this week. They're going bear hunting. They're coming away with a bear pelt, my good sir. Mark, this is kind of how I see this game going. All right, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I can see the Bears in an effort to hype themselves up, bringing a actual live bear to this game. Okay, this is my bold prediction. And when the Eagles run out, I can see Carson Wentz just looking that bear right in the eyes and just going up to it and just giving it a good old 1-2 punch, and that bear's out cold. And we have set the tone for this entire game. Mark, Carson Wentz is going to give this Bears team a good old 1-2 punch to the face. I know people talk about the Bears defense. They just have not played good this year. They haven't played as dominant as last year. I don't trust Mitchell Trubisky to really move the ball. He's not going to make interceptions, but he's not going to put any points on the board. Philadelphia is coming off a big game against a really good defense, so I think they're going to go and come away with the bear pelt.
Yeah, you and me both. And it's kind of funny that you're going to go back and pick the team that betrayed you last week, essentially. There's the note there. But what are the Bears' record? 3-4. Ah, man. So I just think Carson Wentz, kind of like you said, is going to have a big game. I just think they're going to be able to do it at home. I don't trust Mr. Trubisky, and I still like that Philly defense. They're not horrible. They're going to be able to get after the passer, I think. And Mitchell Trubisky's not going to be able to overcome. But no amount of clawing is going to save the Bears this week against the Eagles. Yeah, and honestly, I think this is the game where the wheels kind of fall off for the Bears. At the beginning of the season, they lost and they strung together a few wins, and then they've just kind of been losing ever since. And it seems like every week the Bears are just kind of, one of those teams that have potential to just free fall. More questions about the offense, and Matt Nagy's being questioned. Mr. Trubisky's obviously under a lot of fire. Even that defense, people are saying it's overrated or thinking that it's not playing that well. I think if they lose this game, I think there's potential for the Bears to just kind of mail it in this season. I think it's that kind of year for them, just because of those expectations and their inability to really, I guess, match those expectations with their play on the field. But either way, give me the Philadelphia Eagles in the wheels falling off the wagon game. So,
all right, so we're on the same page there.
Yep.
Moving on, Mark, we have another kind of. This is one of those kind of matchups for me. It could be interesting, but in reality, I think it's more likely going to be a one-sided matchup. And that matchup would be the Indianapolis Colts going into the Steel City to take on the Steelers. And I'm going to be taking the Indianapolis Colts in this one, Mark. After seeing the Steelers really struggle against the Dolphins, I'm really concerned about this team, especially since they do not have James Conner. He just went down with a shoulder injury. Mm-hmm. So it's going to all ride on Mason Rudolph. And I just don't trust him as much after seeing him struggle against a Miami defense with no one on it. And Jacoby Brissett is playing really, really good football. I don't think that's being talked about enough, how well he's playing. He's up there in the league leaders in touchdowns. He hasn't thrown any interceptions. He's playing mistake-free football. And just overall, that Colts team is solid. So give me the Colts in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm taking the Colts, even, without Big Ben in Pittsburgh. I know that's a tough place to play, but this is a mentally tough Colts team. I mean, we've seen it. They've gone into Kansas City and beat them. They've beat Houston, a really good team. And what's crazy? Indy is one of those teams that, I think they could get a first-round bye, especially with the way they're playing right now and the record. I think they're 6-2. They go to 7-2. I mean, if I told you at the beginning of the season that the Indianapolis Colts were positioned to have a bye without Andrew Luck, would you have believed me?
I probably wouldn't have, my good sir.
Right? There's just so many good teams in the AFC, or we thought. It's just crazy to me. So, this Colts team is going to go in there. I think they're going to beat Pittsburgh. Close game, though, because these games are always kind of close with the Colts. I don't think they're going to blow anyone out. They didn't look great last week, but I think they'll get it figured out. Marlon Mack's playing great. Jacoby Brissett's a good quarterback. Yeah, I think the Colts are really motivated. I mean, they could get that number 2 seed. So, especially with that win over Kansas City. That if Kansas City loses and they get pull another win, they've already got that tiebreaker. Yeah, give me the Colts in Pittsburgh.
Yep. All right, so we're on the same page there. Moving on, Mark. This next matchup, I think, I know we were kind of talking about this one. This one is an interesting one. We got the Tennessee Titans going down to Carolina to take on the Carolina Panthers. And this is one, Mark, where I was really thinking about it for a minute or two. On paper, I think both of these teams are actually fairly even, but I'm going to be taking the Tennessee Titans. In this matchup, I think they're going to win on the road. Ryan Tannehill, I think, has brought something different to this Titans team. At least their offense, they seem to be doing. I feel like they are moving the ball a lot better with them. They just seem to be playing better with Ryan Tannehill back there, quarterback, instead of Marcus Mariota. And after seeing the beatdown that the Panthers just took by the 49ers and seeing Kyle Allen struggle, really seeing that defense struggle, really just seeing that whole team struggle, it really kind of shook my trust in them as a team. So I'm going to be taking the Tennessee Titans in this one. I think we're going to see them come away with the victory on the road.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm taking the Titans, and kind of what we saw last week with the Panthers. They had been playing really well. Kyle Allen specifically had been playing really well in the weeks previous. But I think last week was one of those come down to earth games for Kyle Allen. Sometimes you'll see a rookie come into the league and just kind of take it by storm, doing really well, and then just kind of a game comes and stonewalls them, and they kind of figure him out. And not really the same after that. And I think that's what happened with the 49ers. So I don't really expect Kyle Allen to be making a ton of great plays. I think Christian McCaffrey will keep this game close, but Ryan Tannehill has made this Titans team better. So with that and the potential for them to fight for a playoff spot right now, I think they're going to be playing inspired football. I'm taking the Titans on the road.
All right, so we're on the same page there. Not really many differences. But Mark, this next matchup, I think this is a good one. We got the Detroit Lions going down to your boys, them Raiders, for a spicy 1:00 matchup. Mark, who do you have in this game?
Oh, no question. I'm taking my Oakland Raiders. The Raiders have been very up and down this season, but they've kind of figured it out as the season has progressed. And I know they kind of got killed by the Packers a few weeks ago, but that was a very close game with a very good team up until a fumble that kind of changed the momentum, kind of changed that game, and then they were able to they had the lead on the Texans the entire game. It was really a late effort by Deshaun Watson to come back, making some incredible plays that won them that game. But Derek Carr quietly is playing some of the best football in the NFL right now at a quarterback position. He is number 2 in passer rating since week 6, only behind Kirk Cousins, who's been playing with lights out on fire. Actually, I think he might be just number 2 in the NFL, period. But he's also throwing the ball down the field a little bit more. Derek Carr is one of those guys who averages 6 yards an attempt usually throughout his career when he's throwing the ball. And now he's averaging, over the past few weeks, he's averaging 9.4, somewhere around there, yards per attempt. So he's throwing the ball deep, a lot more. And we're starting to see how talented he is, how accurate he is, and how good he's playing. The Raiders are finally coming home after 18 years on the road. I think that crowd's going to be pumped, and I think this is kind of one of those must-win games for the Raiders after dropping 2 straight. And I just think that offense is going to prevail at home. So give me the Raiders.
You know, Mark, this is where we're going to disagree. And I actually like a lot what you said about the Raiders. But, Mark, right now, I like Matthew Stafford a little bit more than I like Derek Carr. And I think that's what's going to win the game for the Lions this week. I think, Mark, personally, I think this game is going to turn into a quarterback shootout a little bit. I think this is really just going to see who puts more points on the board. I'm not a fan of either of these defenses. They're both not bad. They're both not great. I think both of these defenses are going to get shredded up by each other's quarterbacks. But Matthew Stafford has just been so hot lately that I can't pick against him. You know, he's the guy that got me that one game back against you. You know, he beat the Giants. So I'm going to roll with the Lions for a little bit. So give me them Lions this week on the road in Oakland against them Raiders.
You know what? That's what this is about. You know, it's less about you thinking the Lions are better, but more you, them getting kind of like a little bit of ground on the pick'em. So I see where your pick is coming from. You can't deceive me here, Joseph.
Hey, you know what, Mark? Roll with the hot hand. Or in this case, roll with the hot lion.
You know, I'm going to roll with the Pillaging Raider and the Chucky on this Halloween weekend. But anyways, moving on to our next matchup, we have Tampa Bay going up the northwest to take on Pete's, like Pete Coffee. That's from Seattle. But Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks. Joseph, I think we pretty much agree here. I have the Seattle Seahawks. Who do you have?
I have the Seattle Seahawks too, Mark. And quite honestly, it just comes down to quarterback play. Russell Wilson's playing like an MVP right now. I think he's going to be one of the finalists for MVP this year. And Jameis Winston is, he's playing like Jameis Winston. He's throwing an interception on it. Seems just about every other throw is an interception out of his hand, it seems like. So give me the Seahawks in this game. I really don't have much to add other than that.
Yeah, no. Excuse me. I agree with you. Seattle's at home, top 5 quarterback versus probably a bottom 5 quarterback on the road. Yeah, give me Seattle. But moving on. Another saucy matchup, one that I had to think about quite a bit. We've got those Cleveland Browns going a mile high to take on those Denver Broncos. And Joseph, who do you have in this matchup?
Oh, Mark, this is another one of those matchups that I did not like.
Me neither.
Both of these, I think this is going to be a really, really ugly game, Mark. We don't have Joe Flacco, and we have Baker Mayfield. Not looking good. I think this is going to be pretty ugly. But in this battle of ugliness, I think the Cleveland Browns are going to emerge victorious. And this is kind of my thinking behind it, Mark. It's not so much that I trust the Browns as much as I think the Broncos are just going to play that bad. I see them struggling to move the ball with Joe Flacco, who I know we've talked bad on him. I know he hasn't played good this year, but in the past he has been a good quarterback. But now you have him out and you have a backup coming in. You got Brandon Allen coming in. And I don't think he's much better than Joe Flacco. I think he's a lot worse than Joe Flacco, actually. And I don't see him being able to move the ball effectively at all. So I think this is going to be an ugly game, Mark. I think we're going to see both quarterbacks really struggle, but I think the Browns win it because they at least have a talented defense and they can run the ball. So give me them Browns.
I'm the audience know my pick just off of these 2 questions here, and you're going to answer them for me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is Cleveland's biggest strength on their team?
Ooh, their defense, I'd say right now.
Yeah, more specifically their front 7, I would think, or the defensive line.
Myles Garrett. Yep, Myles Garrett. Company.
Yeah, exactly. Myles Garrett and company. What is the Denver's biggest weakness on their team right now?
You got your offensive line held by Garrett Holds.
Yeah, exactly. Just because of that, I was kind of like nervous because Baker Mayfield, but that matchup I think is just gonna be a nightmare for Denver. I mean, their offensive line's one of the worst. And when you have a stud defensive line coming in and just kind of harassing them, kind of like Kansas City did to Denver, I think you're going to see something like that. Yeah, you're probably not going to win the game. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be an ugly game. So yeah, give me Cleveland in this one.
All right, so we're on the same page here. Moving on, Mark, we got. Um, I think it's a spicy matchup, but maybe it's because I'm biased here. We got the Green Bay Packers going down to LA to face the Chargers. But Mark, I'm going to be quite blunt. I think this is going to be more of a home game for the Packers than the Chargers. So,
Wow.
I mean, I'm just looking at history throughout this season. I mean, you had more Steelers fans than Chargers fans there down in LA. They even played the Steelers theme song for them down in LA. So,
Oh man.
LA clearly does not want the Chargers. But anyways, that's a topic maybe for I can't think of what we'd call that podcast.
I
But
got
we'll
it. I
save
got
that
it. I
for another
got it.
podcast. Okay,
The
save me, Mark.
the relocations podcast.
The Relocations podcast. There we go. We'll save it for the Relocations podcast. Mark, I think you know who I'm picking. I'm going to be taking the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is playing lights out right now. They've really figured out how to utilize Aaron Jones, which I think is really scary. He is, I think, Mark, turning into one of the best receiving running backs in the NFL. Actually, I think he's already there, but I think he's making a case for being the best receiving running back in the NFL.
Ooh,
Devontae Adams is getting healthy. I haven't read the latest reports, but I think there's a chance that he might play this week. And just this Chargers offense is really struggling to move the ball. They just fired Ken Wisenhunt. Melvin Gordon has been playing really bad. Philip Rivers hasn't looked the same. And I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up with Aaron Rodgers in this offense. So give me my boys. Give me them Packers.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is greater than signed than Philip Rivers, and you know, it's really sad to see someone like Philip Rivers go the way that he is, just as ungracefully as possible, to where you throw the ball down the field, or you see him throw the ball down the field, and you think, like a punter's throwing it. That's how much heat's on the ball. The arm strength just isn't there anymore, and his mechanics have not aged well. It's really holding this team back because I think this team has actually a talented defense. They have some weapons. I just think their offensive line isn't great, and Philip Rivers, I don't trust him anymore as a quarterback. He's 38, and he's definitely showing those signs. Yeah, just because of that, give me Green Bay. And I do think that offensive line is a bigger issue than people might want to admit or than people realize because Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler really have not been able to run the ball this year. It's really been a lot of receiving out of the backfield when you get them in space where they get all their yards and make all their plays, and they just don't have that running game. So, yeah, just because of all that, give me the Green Bay Packers.
All right, so we're on the same page there. And moving on to our next matchup, the Sunday night matchup, I think, Mark, this could be. Oh, well, I'll just go and give out the matchup for our listeners. We got the New England Patriots going down to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. And, Mark, this is one of those games, and I guess we could say this with any Patriots matchups when they play a good team, that this could be a really, really close game, a hard-fought game, or it could just be an absolute blowout. And I'm really not sure how it's going to end out, but I learned once this year I was really bold picking against the Patriots, and I probably won't do that again this year. I'm going to be taking the Patriots, and this is kind of my reasoning why. I know people argue that they haven't played any good teams this year, but they have just absolutely annihilated every bad team that they've played this year. I mean, they've just made all those teams look like peewee football teams on offense. And they're going up against Lamar Jackson, who, yes, I know can run the ball really effectively, but I don't think he's going to be able to throw the ball, babe. I don't think he's going to be able to throw the ball a whole lot this week against the Patriots. I think he's really going to struggle. And if he can't throw the ball this week, he can run for 150, 200 yards, but that's not going to win the game against a team like the Patriots. So I'm going to go with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in this one, Mark.
Yeah, I just don't. I agree with you. I'm going with the Patriots. Again, listeners, you know my philosophy. As long as Brady and Belichick are there together, I am never picking against the Patriots, and it's not going to happen now. I just don't see how this 2 running back set for the Ravens is going to do much against this Patriots defense. Really. Yes, I'm taking shots at Lamar Jackson. I can't get over Mr. Lamar Jackson refusing to run the 40, and because people didn't want to typecast him or he didn't want to be typecasted as like a running back at playing quarterback or receiver, and then he goes out, throws 5 touchdowns against the Dolphins, and says that's not bad for a running back, and then proceeds to play like a running back every other game this year. Come on, Lamar. You just kind of have to admit it a little bit that you run a lot. But anyways, putting that aside, I do not see a big rushing game from Lamar Jackson. New England's just going to find some way to contain him. I don't know how, but they're going to. And, this defense in New England is a nightmare. And, the one thing I will say about New England is people always say, what competition has New England played? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Stop it. Stop it. They've dominated the bad teams. And, it hasn't been close games with bad teams. They've absolutely demolished bad teams. So don't give me this, what competition have they played? Yes, it would be nice for them to play a good team every once in a while, but when you're shellacking the bad teams, you're a pretty good team. So, yeah, give me the Patriots on the road in this one.
Okay, so we're on the same page there. Moving on, Mark, to our last matchup of the week. We got a spicy NFC East matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. And Mark, I'm going to be taking the Dallas Cowboys this week. I'm going to be taking them boys. And this is Mark. Actually, I don't know about you, but looking at this matchup, I really thought about this one. I can see either one of these teams winning this game. But part of me is going to take. But what kind of really pushed me to picking the Cowboys is I think Dak Prescott is more established. I have more trust in him than I have Daniel Jones. I'm still trying to figure out if Daniel Jones can be an elite NFL quarterback. He has played well, but I want to see him do that consistently. Dak Prescott has shown that to me in the past. I know he had a rough 2-week stretch towards the beginning of the season, but he looks fine now. He's got Tyron Smith back, his big left tackle protecting him. So give me the Cowboys in this game. I just think they're more talented than the Giants. I think they have more talent at quarterback and just more talent on offense.
Joseph, what kills me about this game is I can't not pick the NFC East in this matchup out of spite. I can't not. But that being said, the Giants, you burned me kind of. I'm not picking you this week. I'm going with Dallas. I think this Giants defense is not very good. Dallas is going to kind of have their way with it. And I don't think Daniel Jones is really going to be able to keep up points-wise. And I think it's as simple as that. I could totally see Daniel Jones having a better day statistically than Dak Prescott in this one. But, it might be one of those things where Dallas just kind of feeds Ezekiel Elliott and there's not much the Giants can do. Yeah, and that defense is still really good for Dallas.
Yeah,
but
Joseph, I think we do have to remember they did just go and absolutely destroy the Philadelphia Eagles on national television. I know people were concerned about the Cowboys a little bit, but they just came back in a very nice manner, winning 37-10 in their last game against another division rival. So I like them. They're coming in hot this game, Mark. Yeah. But this is just something I noticed, Mark, as we were going through our matchups. We have no bird watching this week.
Dude, no bird watching whatsoever. Man, did we just get lucky this year with the amount of bird watching we've seen?
I I think so, Mark. I think we've been treated to an exorbitant amount of bird watching. You know,
Really?
I've never had so much use of my binoculars until this season.
Oh man, there's a hot take. You want to know something else that I noticed?
What else did you notice, my good friend?
So I noticed that if you look at our picks, I've picked the road team 10 times this week. You've picked them 11 out of our total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Ooh.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we are heavily leaning on the road this week. And I think that's always a recipe to potentially get burned on your picks. But you know what? We're gonna roll with them. We're feeling good after our performance last time, where we lost 1 and 2 games respectively. I think we're kind of coming into our own here on these picks. But
You know what? It's a learning experience. I think each and every week we've learned, and I think this is something that's really helped us. At this point in the season, we kind of know what each teams are, kind of what they're capable of, and kind of what their weaknesses are. So I think that really helps us make these. I think that helps us make. I don't. It really helps us make these decisions. Is what I'm trying to say. I was struggling for my words there for a second. But may I be as bold to say that one of us goes 14-0 in this week, Mark?
oh wow, let's just save that for the stroking our ego pod. How about that? Because if we're able to pull off something like that, I think we're gonna have to have like a toast to ourselves with.
Okay.
What's your
Here's a. I got a. What's more likely for you?
Okay.
What's more likely? One of us goes 14-0 this week in our pick'ems, or Carson Wentz punches the live bear, the real bear that the Bears bring to their game.
Am I gonna go with ego or logic here? That's the real question. Wait, does it count if he like punches like Khalil Mack or something? Like that's technically a live bear. Are we gonna count
You know
that?
what? I will count that. I'll give you that exception, my sir.
Okay, I'm going to go. You know what? I'm gonna go with 14-0 because I don't think there's a reason for Carson Wentz to punch the quote unquote live bear Khalil Mack here because I don't think the game's gonna be frustrating enough for him to do that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel you, bro.
So what about you? What's more likely for you in this scenario?
You know, I've made both bold predictions, my good sir. So, I'm kind of torn between. I feel like I'm kind of stuck with both of them. I mean, I said Carson Wentz. I said on the podcast that Carson Wentz was going to punch give a live bear, a real bear, a 1-2 punch.
Kind of
And
back
then
yourself
I just
into a
boldly
corner on that
predicted.
one.
Yeah, I've backed myself into a pretty big corner this week. You know. So let's kind of see what happens. I think my ego and my logic on this game are riding pretty high.
Oh wow! Well,
Not
so
riding on one of those jet-driven planes, if you know what I'm saying.
okay. No, okay. How about this? How about this? What's more likely for you? Okay.
Okay.
What's more likely? Washington gets a win or Miami gets a win? Let's do like a real one.
Well, I think Washington because they already have a win. They've proven that they can win.
Really? I'm going Miami because they're playing the crappy Jets.
Ooh. Oh.
So there's where we differ.
Ooh.
We'll see.
But
Right?
we'll see, Mark. You know, maybe we should just save some of these for the What's More Likely podcast.
Yeah, you know what? That wouldn't be a bad idea. But
giving our listeners a little tease right here.
A little tease, and maybe we're going to be talking directions on our next podcast. So, but anyway, we're going to get out of your hair after this Pick'ems episode, feeling good. But anyways, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Mark.
And this has been Joe.
And